Caesar in Georgia. Caesar in Georgia is a MAGA person. I don't know what to call you anymore. Caesar in Georgia, you're on the line with Jimmy and Jovan. And I think the first thing I want to know is, do you believe that Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize?
I think yes. Or first, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be yeah, sure.
What has he done that makes him worthy of it?
Well, there's plenty of things that he has done in both terms, but in this one specifically, he just did the deal with Hamas and Israel.
No, he didn't.
Great. So, well, let's say he did. If I were to, let's say, Caesar, you and I come into disagreement over something, and I hire somebody, let's say Jovan, I hire Jovan, and I keep paying Jovan to just beat the shit out of you over and over and over again. And then one day I say, you know what? I'm going to get between Jovan and Caesar, and I'm going to make them get along. And no longer will I be paying Jovan to beat the shit out of Caesar. Do I deserve an award at that point for having forced you and Jovan to make peace?
No, that makes sense. That's a good argument.
Great. That's literally what giving him the Peace Prize would be. The man has been committing genocide. And for the record, if Kamala Harris on her second day in office had won, second day in office, she negotiated the ceasefire, I would not have supported her getting the Nobel Peace Prize either for all of her genocide support up to that point. So it is wild that people are ignoring everything. We're like, wow, he really negotiated. At this point, let's give Hitler a posthumous Nobel Peace Prize, because Hitler did an amazing thing when he killed himself, and that action ended the Holocaust.
Well, I also just want to be like very upfront about this. Donald Trump did not negotiate a ceasefire. There is no ceasefire agreement agreed to by both sides. Hamas and Israel have agreed to the first stage of a peace agreement, only the first stage, where they have to give up hostages on both sides, and Israel moves the IDF back to instead of occupying 75% of Gaza, they will now take 50% of Gaza. Netanyahu has already said he doesn't like this deal. He doesn't want to follow this deal, and if he gets the chance, he's going to break it. Hamas said we're not disarming because we don't trust Israel. There is no deal. There's just a tentative hostage negotiation happening right now.
There's papers, and yeah, this is the other thing. We already did this months ago when Donald Trump basically got Biden's ceasefire deal agreed to again. And then was like, but I did it. This one was me. And everybody was like, give him that prize. We did this months ago. And then Israel violated it within like a week. So I will believe it when I see it is another part of it. But anyway, Caesar, that was a lot from us. So with that in mind, you still think he deserves the Peace Prize?
I think, my concern is not really like if he deserves some kind of reward for what he has done. I just think that generally, specifically on foreign policy, I think he is generally doing a very good job.
Sure.
What is the measurement for good job? Number of dead brown people versus dead white people?
I want to know specifically, like what foreign policy, like be specific. I don't like vagueness.
Certainly not. It won't be economic policy. He wouldn't be that crazy to defend the tariffs.
Okay, so I think that specifically in the area of like dealing with the cartels in Mexico, Venezuela, etc., I think that is one of the most dangerous things that is hurting American citizens. And dealing with that, he's dealing with it, and I like his.
How's he dealing with it?
So far.
How's he dealing with it? How is he dealing with it?
Well, for example, he's increasing operations in Mexico and in the Caribbean Sea.
What does that mean? Increasing operations?
So, for example, shooting down cartel boats that are leaving Venezuela, or engaging in surveillance over cartel operations in Mexico, and then perhaps using that surveillance to then in the future do some sort of some sort of operation to kill or arrest or whatever cartel leaders.
Hey, when's the last time we executed a pharmaceutical company head?
Listen, I'm not gonna defend these pharmaceutical companies because it's definitely I would agree that a lot of them, for example, Purdue Pharma, they started the opioid crisis.
So should we execute?
No. I'm more interested. I want to know what his, like, if we're talking specifically the cartels, what numbers do we need to see go down? What's our like? You didn't really clearly answer, Jimmy, when you asked what the measure of success is there. What numbers need to go up? What numbers need to go down for you to say the way he's been dealing with the cartels has been a success?
So probably the number of drugs that have entered the United States from through the border, for example.
Which drugs?
The most harmful ones: fentanyl, methamphetamine, etc.
Fentanyl is
cocaine.
Fentanyl is primarily trafficked by U.S. citizens. So how will his effect on the cartel do that?
So U.S. citizens that are cooperating with the trafficking of these deadly drugs should themselves be criminalized
and killed, or no? I'm just curious. I just want to know why you believe in the death penalty for a boat that we're told has drugs on it and bypassing due process for some people, but not Americans. So do we kill those guys?
Are you talking about U.S. citizens that are engaging in drug trafficking? I think they should receive whatever is the standard punishment. If it's like 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever it is in the statutes, they should enforce that.
So if we've got a satellite tracking a boat, why should we kill people that Donald Trump just tells? We haven't got proof these people are actual traffickers, but you got a boat, a satellite is tracking them. Why should we be killing people that we're told, but they are still civilians? Why should we be destroying them and killing them instead of apprehending them, when if we can track them with satellites, we can definitely locate them and apprehend them? Why are we bypassing? Why is it a good thing to bypass due process and without any kind of hearing give Venezuelan civilians the death penalty for being on a boat?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's indiscriminate. I do think they have a sufficient reason to believe that those boats were indeed trafficking drugs.
Great, but you can't prove that. But even if you did, I already gave you, if we're tracking them and we think that they have drugs on them, why do they deserve the death penalty?
Because, well, when it comes to listen, U.S. citizens deserve due process, but these are foreign individuals that are trafficking drugs to kill our people.
And so we can just
you said that Americans should get 10 to 20 years. You said Americans should get 10 to 20 years for doing the same thing as them, but they, because they are foreign, should die?
They are doing something that's way different. They are trafficking internationally.
Literally, no, that's not way different. Borders are imaginary. They have drugs that they are moving them. Again, allegedly. You're already saying they don't deserve due process. Not having due process is amongst the worst human rights violations, because if you don't get due process, that literally means you don't have to prove that they have drugs on their boat, because that's what due process would accomplish. You don't even have to prove that there aren't American citizens on that boat, because that's what due process would accomplish. So you're sitting there against due process for foreign people, but they're in a boat, and the intelligence says, but in America, if those same people are peddling drugs that kill Americans, like the pharmaceutical companies, or the way most drugs get into this country, those people deserve 10 to 20 years was your thing. But if they're international, they're foreign, just kill them. Forget due process. Let's not prove that they actually are those people. Let's not apprehend them, even though we have the means. Let's keep paying for these millions of dollar missiles to kill a little boat that we're saying is coming from Venezuela.
So listen, the Venezuelan government is itself complicit, and they are cooperating with the trafficking of drugs. And there are various ways to get drugs to the United States. You can go through the border, or you can do it by the seas. Okay, what the United States
I like that you still haven't named the number one way.
Wait.
Say that again.
You're mad that the Venezuelan government is complicit in trafficking drugs. What about all the drugs the U.S. government is complicit in trafficking? Should we be taken out too?
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying
So
that.
then should we be taken?
But
So
the
should we
United
be
States
taken out
federal
too?
government is not complicit. They're not trafficking fucking fentanyl, for example.
Not fentanyl. They've trafficked tons of drugs, though. Where do you like?
Okay, I
we've
understand,
bought
but all of these drugs,
from
the
cartels.
most harmful drugs,
We've then flooded those drugs
vast
into our own
majority-
neighborhood. What?
yes,
The
dude,
vast
I
majority
understand.
of
I know about the CIA and
seizures
the
at the
agents. I
border.
get that.
Wait.
talking
The
about-
vast majority of fentanyl seized at our borders is seized from U.S. citizens.
Of course, they're given by the cartel to whoever's across the border to then distribute it.
No,
But
the
it's
U.S.
getting
citizens
produced.
are bringing it across the border. They might be getting it from the cartel, sure, but they're bringing it across the border.
Okay, I understand that. That's a fucking crime that should be dealt with. But it's being produced in Mexico.
How should we deal with it?
How? How should we deal with it? Like, if there's a production site where they're producing fentanyl, because it's a chemical process, then you destroy that production site. Whoever is distributing it, they should all be.
We should just be dropping
arrested.
bombs on. We should just be dropping bombs on. Well, how can they arrest? How can you arrest them if you're just like torching the production sites?
Well, yeah, we should destroy the production sites, absolutely. But I'm talking about production.
Like we did in Afghanistan, right?
Well,
no. We
Afghanistan
specifically
was not
actually
a direct threat to the United States.
avoided the poppy seeds to make sure that they could continue to cultivate heroin. But my bad. Sorry, bad example. Because it was once again the opposite thing of what you were saying. I keep trying to support your point, and I keep accidentally ruining it again.
I didn't really hear what you said right there.
Yeah.
But point is, they're producing it, right, in, let's say, Sinaloa, right? And the state of Sinaloa is completely controlled by the cartels. The Mexican government has no authority. They're completely incompetent. I wouldn't say that the Mexican government is complicit. They're just incompetent, and they don't have control over their own country, okay? And with their permission, obviously, because Mexico is a sovereign state, and he's dealing with the diplomacy of getting that permission. Once we obtain that, then we can begin to, because these states they're run by the cartels. They run it like a dictatorship, and the people, the civilians, are themselves, they're being terrorized by the cartel, who are some of them.
So no more due
it's just
process
horrible.
for people in boats was your point, right?
Well, or
Yeah.
the sites he wants to bomb. He just wants to bomb the site.
Which, by the way, you're a Nobel Peace Prize winning president. That is an act of war. That is an act of war. Destroying a civilian boat with military,
Mexican government.
Using military.
It's a military operation, yeah.
A military operation that kills civilians in a foreign country is an act of war.
It's not an act of war, first of all, if you have permission from the Mexican government. And second of all,
right now we're talking about the Venezuelan boats. Where is that permission?
Well, first of all, Venezuela is complicit, and so therefore, yeah, you could describe it as an act of war, because Venezuela is them. They are themselves doing. They have launched the first attack.
So to be clear, you do believe that the Nobel Peace Prize winning Donald Trump should be declaring war, and we should go to war with a country that, by the way, isn't overseas. You can walk to technically with Venezuela.
Listen,
you like these wars getting closer.
You can't fucking walk to it because there's no land connection. Okay. Second of all,
to Venezuela,
the state of Venezuela. Yeah, you can't walk through it. You can't walk through Panama. It's a rainforest. You can't walk through it. There's no roads or anything to South America.
Wait. You can't walk to it because it's a rainforest?
Yes, it's called the Darien Gap. You can look it up. You cannot drive a car. Maybe you can walk through the fucking rainforest, but you can't drive a car.
Okay. So you are backing off of it. Again, the point being that this is a landlocked country, which you've now conceded is true.
Sure.
We're not talking about overseas. We're talking about a country connected also to a bunch of our trade allies and have trade allies in the same area. And you are content with them recklessly going to war, this peaceful president, with a South American country.
Listen, There are two types of wars, an offensive war and a defensive war. I would describe it as self-defense.
Mm.
They are attacking us. Venezuela is complicit in the trafficking of deadly drugs that are killing American citizens. They are killing our people.
At proportions, at least 1/10 of what we're doing to ourselves, and it's crazy.
I don't know what you're referring to. 1/10 of what we're doing ourselves.
Why do most people get addicted and seek out fentanyl? Where does most drug addiction begin?
Okay, I understand. It begins with prescriptions. I understand.
Oh, so you do understand what I meant we're doing to ourselves. So why is Donald Trump not looking to decriminalize drug use and add better regulations to pharmaceutical companies, better regulations to what can be prescribed? And why is Donald Trump not looking to increase funding for, say, rehabilitation services? Why is it just kill Venezuelans and not the things that we know would actually have massively good effect on the problem and decrease the demand for the cartels?
Okay, as those all sound like legislative policies, and that's not really something that POTUS can do.
Almost like something that a president could do.
Yes. By the way, a lot of those.
The majority of the Congress is they are bought and sold by
Donald Trump.
Okay, both Democrats and Republicans.
And Donald Trump is bought by Big Pharma. What are you talking? If Donald Trump today told Mike Johnson, goes on TV and says, "Get me a bill that funds rehabilitation in this country, decriminalizes drug use, and regulates the pharmaceutical companies in that they cannot give dangerous amounts of drugs to people and not keep track of who's getting what, and just flood hospitals with it and pay doctors in benefits and trips and things to give out their drugs more." If Donald Trump says that to Mike Johnson, how long would it take before it happened because the entire party is terrified of him? I'd give it a week because they know they would have to. So what are you talking about?
Listen, I understand where you're going, and I'm not saying that he's perfect. What I'm saying is that if we were to have the Democrats were not doing shit about Big Pharma, and they also were not doing shit about foreign trafficking of drugs.
Wait. If the Democrats aren't doing shit about foreign trafficking of drugs, hold on. If the Democrats aren't doing shit, why did the number of overdoses drop by almost 50,000 from 2023 to 2024? Democrats were in charge.
Okay, that's great. That's still higher than it was before 2020. Sometimes it goes
up. I wouldn't want to answer that question
down.
directly either. It really undermines things.
Yeah. How about you answer the question I asked you? If they're doing nothing, why were they able to decrease the amount of fentanyl deaths?
It's still a trend. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down.
Didn't answer my question.
But to be clear, Caesar, it sounds like you're saying you would support the Democrats if they would take on more radical positions that would approach this. For example, if the Democrat in 2028 runs on Medicare for all, which would deliver most of those things we just described, you will support the Democrat at that point, right?
If they actually crack down on Big Pharma and deal with the foreign trafficking of drugs, those are two policies that I am very supportive of.
Dealing with the foreign trafficking of drugs will be completely. You're sitting here going, Donald Trump's so great because his murderous actions may be doing a minimal, which I've already looked it up. I've already fact checked you. There's no currently, there is no projections that there is long time modifications happening to the cartels here. They're having to change their leadership and stuff. Right. But as far as impact goes, all of this violent shit they're doing, all of the excess is not going to do anything long term. But in the meantime, we're deporting people who are here working, who support our economy, who are good people looking for a better life. And that's the real cost that we are paying for you guys to feel good about getting to see some boats blow up with civilians on them.
Listen, this is the beginning, right? He's been in office not even a year. Okay, right now they have had very limited non-violent operations in Mexico.
We need to stop having that. Wait, Caesar. We need to stop having that talking point of like He's only been in office for a year. He had an entire
5
term. We saw what happened
years.
based on his first term. We know what the outcome of his policies will be because all he did is took the same policies that had negative outcomes the first time and increased the range and scope of those policies to continue to have negative outcomes the second time.
Caesar, will you
Why are grocery
confirm, because
prices
we've already established it, that the number one thing we can do for this is to pass a major medical reform bill?
Yeah, dealing with big
Right,
pharma
how long
would
ago?
be really good.
What year did Donald Trump first say that they are a week or so away from releasing their replacement for the ACA, their replacement for Obamacare, that he said, and everyone's going to love it, it's better in every way? Do you remember what year he first said that?
No.
It's 2015. That is 10 years ago now that it was about to come out. What year did his proposed replacement for Obamacare actually come out?
I don't remember.
It hasn't, including when they tried to repeal it in I think that was 2017. In 2017, it might have been 2018. You might remember the John McCain big moment where he goes down. They tried to repeal it before having a replacement. And we're just basically given the instructions of give us a replacement so we know what we're going to put in after the fact. And then, replacement's 2 weeks away. Everyone's going to love it. It covers everything. Everyone's going to love it. He said it during his last campaign and the campaign before. We're going to be releasing very soon. We're going to be showing you our replacement for Obamacare. He still has not released it. So you and I have agreed the most meaningful thing they could do is a major medical insurance overhaul or medical bill. Medicare for all would be the way I would do it. Things that would change the powers of the pharmaceutical companies, as well as make sure people have supportive services like rehabilitation, and then everything else that comes with universal health care. That's great. You and I have agreed that that's the number one thing any politician can do. And Donald Trump has been promising a better bill than Obamacare, is weeks away for 10 years. And you're sitting going, but I still consider him a success because he's having no meaningful large impact on the cartels, but we did blow up some boats.
Okay, so you're saying that the Republicans don't have a good healthcare platform.
They have no replacement for Obamacare. In fact, do you know who can prove this to you?
However,
wait. Do you know who?
I'm oblivious to words. I just want to.
Hang on, Caesar. Do you know who will actually tell you the same thing I just told you, that there's no good replacement for Obamacare? You don't have to take it from a leftist like me. Go read Marjorie Taylor Greene's tweets. She's the one right now bringing up that she's disgusted that the subsidies are about to run out. People are going to lose healthcare and other people's premiums doubled, and said our leadership has not brought this to our attention at all, and we have no replacement plan. So it's your people now starting to catch on that the replacements don't exist. And frankly, let's be honest, they never actually intended to replace it because they know they can't do better than Obamacare. They can only do worse.
Right. Listen, so Obamacare did not deal with big pharma in the way that we said.
Oh, no kidding. For sure it didn't.
And so during Biden, he had 4 years, and there was nothing that was dealt with. Okay?
Right. They definitely did not do enough under Biden. And Kamala Harris is basically a traitor to a lot of people who did support her, because she went from supporting Medicare for all to not anymore. Caesar, what points do you think you're making that we're going to sit here and go, no, Obamacare was enough? It doesn't even have a fucking single payer option. The fuck do you think?
I'm more concerned, Caesar, by the fact that you act like Trump has proposed any policy to deal with big pharma. He hasn't. Not one.
I'm not.
Instead of addressing that, you just went, well, what about Obamacare?
No, dude, what I'm trying to articulate is that I was standing in 2024 and I was looking at both parties, and I saw that the Democrats, they weren't doing anything productive. And I saw that the Republicans were not going to do anything either. So regarding the issue of healthcare and dealing with big pharma, both parties left me unconvinced, okay? And so when I make my preference, when I say that I prefer or that I'm
You were a single
pro-MAGA,
issue voter.
what I'm trying to say
You were a single issue
is
voter. You
that
cared about one
with
thing,
these specific issues,
and it was the cartels.
neither side is doing what I want, but on other things there is certain things that they are taking action on.
Yes,
And
you
so
were
I
a
have to
single
just rely
issue
on
voter.
what they are.
You cared about Donald Trump providing lip service that he was going to be strong on the cartels. He hasn't really done anything to really cause the cartels to slow down. They're still going. And so
Listen, bro,
Listen, bro. Caesar, the funniest thing here, too, is you're sitting here complaining about that Biden had power and didn't do anything. Remind me when Biden controlled all three, when Biden's party had all three branches of government.
Well, the reason they didn't win is because they don't have a good platform and they can't win elections.
Great. Macaroni and cheese is delicious. I can also say something irrelevant to the previous question. Caesar,
this is such a Wait, I just want to point out real quick before we get there. It's so stupid because the Democrats won the last election prior to this one. So what do you mean?
Right.
Like, I would get it if the Republicans have been winning nonstop over and over and over and over again. But typically, it's just been switching back and forth. We get typically 8 years of a Dem, 8 years of a Republican, 8 years of a Dem, 8 years of a Republican, back and forth. Republicans fuck up the economy. Democrats come in and fix it. Republicans fuck it up. George Bush puts us into a recession. After Bill Clinton leaves us with a surplus, Obama pulls us out, and now it's just 4 and 4. Donald Trump had 4 years. Biden has 4 years. Donald Trump's gonna have another 4 years. And then we'll see what happens after that. So what are you talking about? Dems always lose. Like, there's no evidence of this.
And hasn't had all three branches of government the way Trump does now. Even when they had the Congress, only had a 50-50 Congress. And then you had Manchin, who was basically a Trump Democrat, who stopped the reforms that you're describing. So yes, on Obamacare, they were way better, but didn't have the power to put it into, they couldn't put it into power. Whereas Donald Trump right now has the House, has the Senate, has the Supreme Court, still isn't doing anything.
Look, even if the Democrats did have that power, I believe that they wouldn't have done anything either. Anyways, Democrats
but you can say you believe that, but it wouldn't be based on the fact that they tried and Manchin is the one who stopped them. So they were going for it had they had the vote, but they had the Trump guy and they had Sinema also in the way doing those things. So they were in the process of doing them and got railroaded by Trump Democrats. And
Hold on. Because I don't like the Democrats. I think the Democrats suck. But the Democrats got through a substantial healthcare policy. Obamacare, the ACA was substantial. And
but he's talking about the improvements to the ACA. They at least had a proposal that they tried to pass, and the Republicans haven't tried to pass anything. They have no enhancement or replacement plan. Excuse me, what?
That listen, I can't listen. I'm not here to I don't even like Obamacare. Okay, I don't think that the federal government should be.
What do you specifically dislike about Obamacare, Caesar?
I don't like Obamacare. It's easy for me to not like Obamacare. It's nowhere near good enough.
There's a difference between not being good enough and disliking it because you disagree with it. Those are two different things.
No, that's not why. That's not why I dislike it. I dislike it. Let me say it very clearly. Obamacare was created after 2008 recession, right? And ever since then, the federal government has been printing dollars, right? And so they're funding these federal programs, right? You would describe healthcare as a sort of welfare, right? These welfare programs are not being funded by taxes or tariffs or any other legitimate form of revenue. They're being funded by printing. And I think that the printing of dollars is something that is destroying our economy.
This is untrue.
You have no idea what you're talking about. If you want to lower healthcare costs, here's the reason why I oppose Obamacare. Obamacare is built on a private market. Obamacare is subsidies to keep the private insurance market open. And so mine is basically the opposite of yours. I would pass healthcare that will basically make almost every insurance company go out of business, except for those who can successfully pivot to like a type of private healthcare for services outside like they have in Europe. Those might still exist. But you'd basically destroy the private market. You would make it, everybody gets it, not just people who because there are still lots of poor people who have no insurance, and then most people are underinsured. And if you want to lower healthcare costs and the amount we're spending on healthcare, you pass that Medicare for all and you let the government come in and say, no, you don't get to charge thousands of dollars for a digital x-ray. You don't get to charge hundreds of dollars for a Tylenol. You don't get to do, that's what you go in there and you do, but you're sitting there going like, nah, I like the model where Americans spend way more out of their personal pocket than paying way less, but in a tax. So you can either pay hundreds to thousands of dollars a month or literally just like dollars a month in taxes, get full health care or be underinsured. You want to go with the private market way that basically makes people go bankrupt and ruin their livelihood when they get sick. That's our difference, Caesar. We both hate Obamacare, but for different reasons.
But also, you want to talk about printing money. Trump is putting us into a deficit. So I don't understand. Like
Trump's deficits are literally larger.
If you're in a spending deficit, the only way to fund things in a spending deficit, if you do not balance the budget, which only one person has in the last like 10 years or 20 years, I guess, if you can't balance the budget, all you can do is continue to borrow and spend. Trump is doing that. He's just borrowing and spending.
Yeah. Listen, I just wanted to say about with the argument that he just made. I do like that idea. It sounds like what you're saying is a socialist healthcare system, right? And
hell yeah.
The way you described it, it sounds great. But here's the issue.
And it works great in every country that does it.
Right. But if both parties are controlled by Big Pharma, then implementing this is simply not possible.
Yeah,
you can't make if the government is controlled by them, then you
we
can't
need to be putting in prison. Like you were saying earlier, you think drug traffickers should get murdered. I think they should go to prison. You are quite right. We need to radically, I mean, I don't think I can say eat them live.
Right.
Not anymore. You can
eat them. Just eat them. Listen, what's the name of that guy? The Sackler family, the ones that founded Purdue Pharma, right? I think they are the largest cartel. They are the worst. They have killed more people than any
Donald Trump is in their pocket,
right?
Donald Trump's in their pocket. So
okay, I understand that, but so are the Democrats. And
so
when it comes to the issue, when
you have a choice of two evils,
options,
you pick the lesser because the Democrats are lesser in their pocket.
Yeah, and in my eyes, respectfully, I think that Trump is indeed the lesser evil because the Democrats would have and will destroy the country if they ever come into office.
Which is just based on your feelings and not any actual, as we've already gone through. You can't point to a single policy that was superior. You can't point to anything. You just feel that way, even though Biden got us out of Donald Trump's nonsense and spending, actually not fully out, but we ended up having a lesser explosion in inflation than other Western nations during the same period of time because Donald Trump botched COVID, botched our foreign defense, and by the way, exploded our deficit by passing a tax cut on the rich. So as you're sitting here worrying about money and printing money, he literally reduced our country's income from rich people who could actually afford it. Biden comes in, makes sure that our inflation is less than other countries. Obama covers for Bush. You're sitting here going like, I think the lesser evil is the party that keeps being the problem. Well done.
Yeah, but I also really quickly though, I just want to point out you said really quickly, Caesar, and then you can respond to Jimmy. You said that like the Democrats are more in their pockets, but Donald Trump quite literally is invested in Pfizer. Like he holds shares in big pharmaceutical companies. He wants them to succeed.
It's pretty fucked right now. Yeah, they run everything. Listen, when it comes to, we can redirect the conversation to the budget. I think that
because you're doing so bad. Right now, no. Actually, we're not going to redirect where you want to go. I'm going to ask you I'm going to ask you a couple of very simple questions. Between the Democrats and the Republicans.
Wait, Jimmy, wait. I'm sorry, but Trump is invested in big pharma companies while Biden has no investing shares in pharmaceutical companies. But you prefer Trump when big pharma is your biggest.
Caesar, which party, because last one was Harris, by the way, not even Biden. So between Biden and Harris, which party suggested more regulations for pharmaceutical countries? Republicans or Democrats?
Brother, one thing are promises, and one thing is what they actually implement. And I don't think that
No, I'm glad you said that. I'm very glad you said that. So now answer my question. Which one said they would increase regulations? Democrats or Republicans?
Probably the Democrats, I think.
The Democrats said they would increase, but you said you like action more. Great. In May of 2025, right. What executive action did Donald Trump take? What executive order did he do?
Tell me which one you're referring to.
It's the one where he eliminated regulations to speed up approval process for domestic pharmaceutical manufacturing. He literally reduced regulations on the pharmaceutical companies in America.
Right.
Right. So they promised they would add more, but you didn't believe them. So you went with the guy who promised he would do less. He would take regulations away and now has. So it's not just promises, it's doing. You went with the guy because you believed his promise to make things worse more than you believed their promise to make things better. At least you thought he would keep the promise, even if the promise was going in the bad way.
Yeah, you could say it like that. Yeah.
Great. So you would rather vote for a person who promises to murder than a person who promises to reduce murders.
Okay, but then they actually end up murdering anyways. Yeah, exactly. I would rather.
You went with the guy who promises to murder. By the way, they didn't. They literally increased regulations during their period of time. In fact, these are where the regulations come from. It's always Democrats put in regulations and Republicans run on taking them away and making pharmaceutical countries richer. Caesar, we have other people waiting. And at this point, you are floundering and have shown that you are just like only capable of being wrong. So I think we just move on.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the talk, guys.
Thanks, Caesar. That was just wild. He literally just admitted he'd rather vote for a person who promises to murder than a person who promises to reduce murder, but he suspects they won't.
What's funny to me is just watching everybody in chat who thinks we're Democrats. Like, I don't hate the Democrats.
Bro, that's the fucking thing too. We had two choices, as he said. There was a reason to vote for the Democrats over the Republicans. Fuck the Democrats. I will be campaigning in the primaries for people who don't, basically, if you don't throw trans people under the bus and you support Medicare for all, if you do those two things, I don't really give a fuck what your party is. I will support you. Boom. That's it. If a Republican comes out and goes, trans people are fine, let them do whatever they fucking want, and Medicare for all, we really need to pass it, I will fucking support the Republican at that fucking point. I don't give a shit who you are.
If you like this debate and you want to see more debates like this, head over to the Lines page at QAnon Line or Jimmy Snow on the Line at Jimmy Snow.